Welcome, friend. I'm James, your host, and today, we're diving into another captivating episode. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and get ready for a powerful story that's sure to resonate. If something hits home, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive in. Edda for telling my friend to break up with his girlfriend after he cheated on her twice? So, here's the deal. I'm Alex, a 23-year-old guy living in the sprawling chaos of Los Angeles. Picture this, palm trees swaying in the breeze, the distant hum of the city at night, and me, just trying to navigate the drama that life throws at you. It's a city of dreams, filled with aspiring actors, musicians, and writers, all chasing the elusive promise of fame and success. A few years ago, I met my friend Marwan in a reading club. Yeah, it sounds dorky, but bear with me. He was dragged there by a mutual friend, and honestly, he looked like a fish out of water among the bookworms. I remember the first time I saw him, sitting there with a bemused expression, as if he were questioning why he was surrounded by people more interested in discussing classic literature than the latest Netflix series. He's a good-looking guy, tall with dark hair and a charming smile, but he never really acted on impulse. At first, I thought he was just another quiet dude who'd rather be lost in a novel than socialize. But as we spent more time together, I discovered he had a dry sense of humor that could crack me up and a genuine interest in the world around him. Over countless discussions about literature and life, we bonded over our shared experiences and dreams. We both had aspirations that felt a bit out of reach, and in those moments, our late-night talks about what we wanted in life felt like a lifeline. As we discussed everything from existential philosophy to the latest bestseller, I realized we were kindred spirits navigating the confusing waters of adulthood. Before I knew it, we were practically inseparable. We'd grab coffee at our favorite cafe in Silver Lake, sipping our drinks while people watching and chatting about the latest novels we were reading. There was a camaraderie that I treasured, a friendship that felt like a solid foundation in the chaotic world around us. Our friendship blossomed after a roller coaster ride of experiences that bonded us. Fast forward a year after we became friends, and he meets this girl, Mia, at a beach party where we were hanging out. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow on the ocean, and there she was, bubbly and charismatic, laughing as she splashed water at Marwan. I remember the exact moment he first laid eyes on her. It was like watching a light bulb go off in his head. He was captivated. She had this magnetic presence, effortlessly drawing people in with her laughter and warm smile. They started dating about 4 months later, and I was genuinely happy for them. Mia was the complete package, smart, funny, and radiant. She had this energy that could light up the darkest of rooms, and when she was around, Marwan seemed more alive, like he'd discovered a part of himself he never knew existed. Their chemistry was palpable, and I couldn't help but feel a little envious of the ease with which they connected. They would often come to me for relationship advice, which was kind of hilarious because I was still a clueless virgin. I'd never even held a girl's hand, yet here I was, playing the role of the supportive best friend, cheering them on and basking in their happiness. They would invite me to join them for beach outings, where we'd spend lazy afternoons soaking up the sun and laughing over shared snacks. I reveled in their playful banter and the way they made each other smile. For the first 6 months, everything seemed perfect. They were this adorable couple, sharing inside jokes and sneaking kisses when they thought I wasn't looking. It felt like they were in their own little world, filled with sweet moments and laughter. They would stroll hand in hand down Venice Beach, sharing ice cream cones, their smiles wide as they watched the sun dip below the horizon. It was a beautiful thing to witness, a love story unfolding right before my eyes, and I felt privileged to be a part of it. But then, just like that, they suddenly stopped talking about their relationship. They became increasingly closed off, and it left me wondering if they were experiencing growing pains. It was as if they were navigating uncharted waters, and I felt like I was on the sidelines, unable to help. I figured they wanted to keep things private, so I kept my distance, respecting their space. I didn't think much of it until one fateful night about a year into their relationship. I was watching a movie at home when I heard a loud knock on my door. The clock read 1 a.m., and I was startled. As I opened the door, I found Mia standing there, looking utterly wrecked. Her hair was a mess, her eyes puffy and red from crying. I was shocked to see her at my place instead of her best friend's. She stumbled in and collapsed onto my couch, and I could feel the weight of the world pressing down on her. The room was heavy with silence, and I knew something was very wrong. I was confused, but tried to calm her down as I grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around her shoulders, offering her some semblance of comfort. My heart raced as I took in her appearance. She looked like a ghost of herself, and the sight was gut-wrenching. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room, leaving a cold emptiness in its wake. The moment she spoke, my heart sank. "Marwan cheated on me," she said, her voice breaking. "With my best friend." It felt like someone had punched me in the gut. Marwan? The guy who seemed incapable of betrayal? My mind raced, but I couldn't process what she was saying. I picked up my phone and called him repeatedly, but he didn't answer. Mia spent the night at my place, and I was in turmoil. I could see how broken she was, and all I wanted was to be there for her. But then, things took a turn. In her vulnerable state, she made a move on me. I was stunned. I mean, I'm no heartthrob. I was sure a girl like her wouldn't throw herself at me under normal circumstances. But there she was, desperate and hurting. I gently pushed her away, saying, "Mia, we can't do this. You need time." I couldn't take advantage of her mental state, no matter how much I secretly longed to be with someone like her. The internal conflict raged within me. Here was this beautiful girl, in distress and looking to me for solace, and I had to hold myself back. It felt like a cruel twist of fate. I knew I had to be the friend she needed, not someone who would complicate her already shattered world. The next morning, after a sleepless night filled with turmoil, I set out to confront Marwan. My heart was pounding as I walked towards the cafe where we usually met, the sun shining brightly above me, contrasting sharply with the storm brewing inside. Every step felt like an uphill battle, as if I were walking toward a confrontation that would irrevocably change everything. The weight of my decision pressed down on me, making me question whether I was prepared for what lay ahead. I mentally replayed every conversation we'd had, wondering how someone I considered a close friend could betray the trust of someone so lovely. When I finally got him on the phone, I could hear the nonchalance in his voice. He admitted it was a mistake and that he regretted it, but my heart was pounding with disappointment. "Why, Marwan? How could you do this to her?" I demanded, my frustration bubbling over. I needed him to understand the gravity of what he had done, to see the destruction he had caused. He gave me a half-hearted apology, insisting it didn't mean anything. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How could he betray someone who cared so deeply for him? I still vividly remember Mia's tear-streaked face from that night. It haunted me. The image of her devastation only fueled my anger. Long story short, they patched things up after a lot of back-and-forth drama, but I could sense a growing darkness looming over their relationship. But something had shifted in their relationship. Mia became a shell of her former self, withdrawn, quiet, and isolated. It was like the vibrant girl I once knew had been extinguished, and her only friend was now me. I noticed her reluctance to engage in conversations, her laughter replaced by a heavy silence. Our outings, once filled with joy and laughter, turned into somber exchanges where I felt like I was walking on eggshells. She'd spend hours staring out the window, lost in thought, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was trapped in a cycle of pain. I wanted to reach out, to remind her of the spirited person she used to be, but every time I tried, I could see the wall she had built around herself. It was heartbreaking to watch someone so full of life become a mere shadow of who they once were. Meanwhile, Marwan was spiraling, chain-smoking and acting like a lost cause, spending time with Mia purely for sex and shallow fun. It was as if he was living in some twisted fantasy, completely detached from the emotional wreckage he was causing. The contrast between their once vibrant relationship and its current state was stark, and it left me feeling powerless. Then came the punch to the gut. A week later, he cheated on her again. I was furious. When he confessed, I lost it. "You've got to be kidding me. You promised you wouldn't do this again. My voice trembled with rage and disbelief. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, my blood pounding with a mix of anger and disappointment. I wanted to shake him, to make him see the damage he was causing not just to Mia but to himself as well. This wasn't just a pattern, it was a downward spiral, and I felt like I was watching my friend self-destruct in real time. How can you keep doing this? I shouted, my frustration spilling over. Do you even care about her? About what you're doing to her heart? His response was infuriatingly calm. He begged and swore it would never happen again, but the sincerity was lost on me. I could see the flicker of guilt in his eyes, but it was overshadowed by the arrogance that had crept in since he first cheated. At that moment, I realized he wasn't just betraying Mia, he was dragging her through the mud, and it was infuriating. In a fit of rage, I finally told him what I really thought: you need to break up with her. She doesn't deserve this. You're ruining her life. The words hung in the air, heavy and charged with emotion. He exploded. Stay out of my business. His anger erupted like a volcano, and in a split second, the tension escalated. He shoved me hard, and suddenly, it wasn't just words anymore. The physical altercation left me stunned, but I held my ground. I didn't want to throw away our friendship, but I felt morally obligated to protect Mia. I never wanted it to come to this, but I couldn't sit back and watch him destroy her any longer. We were no longer just friends caught in a disagreement. We were two people on opposite sides of a very serious divide, and it felt like everything we had built together was crumbling. Since that day, we haven't spoken. The silence between us is deafening, filled with unresolved tension and regret. I often find myself sitting in the same cafe we used to frequent, nursing a cup of coffee, staring at the empty chair across from me where he would usually sit. I replay our last confrontation in my head, wishing I could have handled things differently. I know that if I tell Mia the truth about Marwan, it could ruin our 3-year friendship. But I can't sit back and watch her suffer. I've thought about reaching out to her, weighing the potential fallout against the need to protect her from more heartache. Every time I consider it, doubt creeps in. What if I lose both my friendship with Marwan and my connection to Mia? What if I end up being the villain in this story? It's a dilemma that eats away at me, leaving me torn between loyalty to a friend who has lost his way and the instinct to defend someone who deserves so much better. The nights are the hardest. I often find myself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, contemplating the choices I've made. I replay the conversations in my head, wishing I had more clarity, more courage. What would I even say to Mia? How do you approach someone you care about deeply and tell them the truth when it feels like you're stepping into a minefield? I've tried to reach out to Marwan in those quiet moments of despair, hoping to reconcile our friendship, but every time I think about it, I hesitate. What would I even say? Hey man, remember when you cheated on your girlfriend? Well, I'm here to talk it out. It feels impossible. Sometimes I see Mia around campus, laughing with friends, and for a brief moment, I feel a pang of hope. Maybe she's okay. Maybe she's moved on. But then I remember that behind her smile lies the pain of betrayal, and it tears me apart. I want to reach out to her, to check in, but I worry that by doing so, I'm crossing a line. I don't want to add to her heartbreak, I want to help her heal. Yet here I am, stuck in this limbo, knowing that every day I remain silent is a day she could be suffering alone. So here I am, caught in a web of betrayal, friendship, and moral dilemmas. The lines have blurred between right and wrong, friend and foe. I know I need to make a choice, and soon. Do I protect my friendship with Marwan, or do I risk it all to save Mia from further heartache? Etta for stepping in and telling Marwan to leave Mia? The answer seems to elude me as I grapple with the consequences of my decisions, trying to find a way forward in a situation that feels more complicated than any plot twist in the novels we once read together.